Welcome to Zoe Stories. I stayed over, and she made me her girly slave. The soft chime of the boutique's entrance bell echoed as I stepped inside, and immediately, the world outside seemed to vanish. Plush velvet curtains framed tall mirrors, and golden spotlights highlighted racks of luxurious dresses and shimmering heels. Every detail whispered elegance and control, and at the center of it all stood Isabella, her presence magnetic, her eyes locking onto me with a knowing gleam. "You made it," she said, voice smooth, almost teasing. "Tonight, there's no hiding. No excuses. Are you ready to see what you're really capable of?" I felt a jolt run through me. Ready? My heartbeat hammered in my chest as I realized this wasn't just a casual visit. This boutique wasn't open to the public tonight. It was her private playground, meticulously arranged, every corner designed to reveal and test. And I was the subject. Isabella guided me toward a private changing area tucked behind a velvet partition. Mirrors lined the walls, reflecting my image from every angle, magnifying the sense of vulnerability. The racks of clothes seemed alive, fabrics whispering secrets I had only dared imagine in private. Silk blouses, lace skirts, delicate heels, every piece a portal into a side of me I rarely let anyone see. "This is where you become someone else," she said, circling me like a predator inspecting her prey. "Every choice, every motion mine to guide. Do you trust me enough?" I nodded, though my stomach twisted with a mix of fear and exhilaration. Trust. That was the word that defined tonight. I'd followed her rules before, flirted with the thrill of surrender, but never like this, never fully, and never under such watchful eyes. She handed me a soft camisole and a skirt that glimmered under the lights. My fingers trembled slightly as I touched the fabric, feeling the delicate weave, the weight of possibility in every thread. The mirror reflected my hesitation, my curiosity, my desire to explore this forbidden transformation. Isabella watched me, her gaze sharp, almost clinical. "Take your time," she whispered. "Or, let me help you. That choice is part of the game." I slipped the camisole over my head, the fabric sliding against my skin, soft and electrifying. As I adjusted the skirt, feeling it cling to my legs, a shiver ran down my spine. The heels she picked out were impossibly high, forcing me to balance delicately, each step amplifying the awareness of my body and the thrill of exposure. Mirrors surrounded me, reflecting multiple versions of myself, each one more daring, more vulnerable. I felt a strange exhilaration. This wasn't just dressing up. It was surrendering to an identity I had only explored in secret, revealing a side of me that craved attention and control at the same time. Isabella moved closer, her heels clicking softly against the polished floor. "Perfect," she said. "Now look at yourself. Really see it. This is you tonight." The reflection staring back wasn't just a disguise. It was a revelation. The soft lines of my face, the delicate sway of my hips, the subtle arch in my posture. It all felt like stepping into a new reality. My chest tightened with anticipation, and a rush of adrenaline coursed through me. Every second mattered now. Every glance, every movement, every small sound from Isabella carried weight. She handed me a brush and a compact mirror. "Make yourself ready," she instructed. "Your appearance, your performance is part of the experience." I began applying makeup, each stroke a mixture of focus and trembling excitement. Lipstick painted my lips with bold precision, mascara traced my lashes, and a hint of blush warmed my cheeks. With every movement, I felt less like Alex and more like the persona Isabella was coaxing out, a fragile, obedient, and exquisitely exposed version of me. The boutique seemed to shrink around us, the mirrors reflecting not just my transformation but the tension building in the room. A single wrong step, a misaligned gaze, could shatter the carefully constructed illusion. And part of me reveled in that risk, the intoxicating thrill of balancing desire, secrecy, and obedience. Isabella stepped back, inspecting every detail. "Exactly as I imagined," she said softly. "And now the real test begins." A low hum of excitement, Fear and anticipation filled the air. I knew that tonight wasn't just about clothes or appearance. It was about surrender, control, and the delicate tension between them. My reflection showed a version of me I had never dared to embrace publicly, and yet, with Isabella guiding me, I could not resist stepping fully into this new, thrilling reality. The boutique's lights glimmered softly against the polished floors, casting golden reflections on every mirror and shimmering surface. Each piece of clothing, each delicate heel on the racks, seemed to hum with a secret life, daring me to step closer. I hadn't expected the boutique to feel like this. Not merely a shop, but a stage designed to expose, test, and transform. And there she was, Isabella, standing at the center, her presence commanding, the subtle sway of her hips making my pulse race. "You're here," she said, her voice low and precise, "and that means you're ready for tonight. But are you ready to surrender control?" I couldn't speak immediately. The words I wanted, "Yes, I'm ready," felt trapped behind the pulse in my throat. Every fiber of me was alert, my hands slightly trembling, my chest tight, adrenaline surging with a thrill of anticipation. This was no casual visit. This was a test of desire, of obedience, of transformation. She led me toward a velvet-draped changing area, the mirrors reflecting my figure from every angle. I could see Alex, my everyday self, but the boutique, with its golden lights and polished elegance, demanded a different version of me. Every dress, every piece of fabric, every glinting heel seemed to whisper, "Become someone else tonight." "Start with the blouse," she instructed, handing me a delicate, silky top. The texture was electric against my fingertips. I felt the fine threads like a pulse running into my skin. "Let your hands obey," she said softly. "This is more than clothing. It's transformation." I slipped the blouse over my head, the soft fabric caressing my shoulders. A thrill ran through me as the material molded to my form, accentuating curves I rarely let anyone see. Next came the skirt, a sleek, pencil-cut masterpiece that clung snugly to my hips. I shivered slightly as I adjusted it, feeling both vulnerable and exhilarated. The reflection in the mirror caught my eyes, wide with a mix of excitement and fear, and Isabella's gaze never wavered from me. "Good," she said, circling me slowly, heels clicking against the floor. "Now the heels. They will change how you move, how you stand, even how you breathe. Balance is everything." The heels she placed before me were taller than anything I had worn before. As I stepped into them, the unfamiliar height made my legs quiver. Each step was a small triumph and a reminder of my vulnerability. I wobbled slightly, and she didn't flinch. Instead, she watched, eyes sharp, analyzing every micro-expression. "You feel it, don't you?" she murmured. "The change. The way every muscle adjusts, every movement becomes an act of grace or failure. And failure, well, that's not tonight." The mirrors multiplied my image, a dozen reflections staring back, each one more poised, more delicate, more feminine. Every shift of weight, every tilt of my head, every subtle adjustment of my skirt made me hyper-aware of my new persona. Alex seemed far away. The figure staring back was someone entirely different, someone Isabella could mold, command, and display. I felt the thrill of exposure, a delicious tension coiling tight around my chest. Each movement, no matter how small, carried the weight of potential failure. The boutique wasn't just a space, it was a stage, a private arena where my deepest, most secret desires would clash with my fears. "You're doing well," she said finally, stepping closer. "But now look at yourself in the mirrors. Really see." I focused on my reflection, tracing the subtle curves of my face, the way the blouse hugged my shoulders, the sleek line of the skirt, the awkward but exhilarating sway of the heels. Every detail felt magnified under the boutique lights, every flaw or perfection amplified. I felt exposed, vulnerable, alive. "Good," Isabella said softly, brushing a strand of hair behind my ear. "Now your expression. Posture, poise, confidence. Or, at least the illusion of it. You can falter internally, but outwardly, you are flawless.
Can you do that?
I nodded, though my knees were trembling slightly. Every fiber of my being screamed uncertainty. But at the same time, a thrill surged through me. The boutique, the lights, the mirrors, Isabella's eyes. They were all catalysts, pushing me toward a transformation I had long dreamed of, but never dared to fully explore. She handed me a compact mirror and a small makeup brush. Touch yourself up. Subtlety is key. Each stroke, every decision matters. You are performing, yes, but also surrendering. The line between the two is what tonight is about. I applied a hint of blush, feeling my heartbeat accelerate with every sweep. Lipstick followed, my hands slightly trembling. Mascara brushed along my lashes. The reflection changed subtly with every step, every layer, every touch. I was becoming someone else. Not entirely Alex, not yet fully transformed, but in transition. Vulnerable, delicate, and thrillingly exposed. Isabella moved behind me, fingers lightly tracing my shoulder. Perfect, she whispered. Now breathe. Absorb the tension, the anticipation, the possibility. Tonight is yours to surrender or mine to claim. A soft sound from the boutique entrance, a distant chime, made me freeze. My pulse spiked. Isabella's eyes flicked toward the sound, and then back at me, sharp and calculating. Someone could walk in at any moment, she said quietly. That's part of the thrill. Can you maintain composure? Can you remain beautiful under pressure? I nodded, swallowing hard, the heels pressing against my arches, my body taut with tension. Every mirror reflection seemed to judge me. Every fabric against my skin reminded me of my exposure. The stakes were high, the challenge immediate. Every small action was weighted with consequence. Good, Isabella murmured, stepping back with a faint, approving smile. Now, the final layer. She handed me a delicate wig, soft as silk. Placing it carefully, adjusting it, I finally saw the full transformation. The person staring back was almost unrecognizable. Alex fading, replaced by a poised, feminine figure, trembling yet radiant. Vulnerable yet alive. The boutique, the mirrors, Isabella's watchful gaze, all converged to make this transformation complete. The room held its breath with me. I wasn't just dressed differently. I was someone else entirely. And Isabella, standing a few feet away, was the only witness and judge of this delicate new reality. Excellent, she whispered, voice low and intoxicating. Now, the real test begins. The boutique felt smaller somehow, the golden light warmer and more confining. Every mirror reflected not just my image, but my apprehension. I shifted on the heels, trying to maintain balance while my pulse hammered in my chest. Isabella's eyes followed me, sharp, commanding, reading every subtle movement. Relax, she whispered, though her tone held a quiet dominance. Or, at least look relaxed. Posture, poise, it's all part of your performance. Her words sank into me, igniting a strange mixture of fear and excitement. Relax? The idea seemed impossible. Every fiber of me was alive with tension. The weight of the skirt, the unfamiliar height of the heels, the silk against my skin, and most of all, the knowledge that Isabella was scrutinizing my every move. She stepped closer, circling me like a predator inspecting her prey. Eyes forward, she commanded. Don't look down. Confidence isn't just how you move, it's how you carry yourself, even if you feel like falling apart inside. I did as she said, head held high, even though my legs quivered slightly with the effort. My reflection multiplied in the mirrors, a dozen versions of myself staring back, poised, elegant, yet trembling beneath the surface. Every detail mattered. The tilt of my chin, the gentle sway of my hips, the subtle rise and fall of my chest with each breath. You're doing well, Isabella murmured, brushing a strand of hair from my face. But there's more. I need you to speak. Every word you say should reflect this new version of you. I swallowed, suddenly aware of the unfamiliar cadence of my voice, slightly higher, softer, more deliberate. I read a few lines she handed me, a small exercise in posture, poise, and verbal control. Each word felt strange, almost foreign, yet the thrill of performing, of inhabiting this delicate, feminine persona, sent shivers down my spine. "Good," she said, her lips curling into a faint, approving smile. "Now walk." Across the floor. Every step precise, deliberate, perfect. And remember, the mirrors never lie. I took a tentative step forward, feeling the unfamiliar height of the heels press against my arches. My balance shifted, and for a moment, panic flared. But Isabella's gaze anchored me. I took another step, then another, each movement more confident than the last. The mirrors reflected the transformation in progress, Alex fading, replaced by someone fragile, elegant, and exposed. A soft laugh escaped Isabella's lips. "There it is," she whispered. "The version of you I've been waiting to see. But let's push further. More exposure. More submission. More beauty under pressure." My pulse spiked. Exposure. Submission. Beauty under pressure. The words resonated like a drumbeat inside me, each one amplifying the tension and excitement. I realized with a jolt that this wasn't just about clothing or posture. It was about surrender, total and complete. And yet, part of me craved it with a fervor I hadn't allowed myself to acknowledge before. She moved closer, adjusting the hem of my skirt, the line of my blouse. Every touch was electric, a reminder of my vulnerability and her control. "Perfect," she murmured. "Now let's add subtlety. Small movements, gestures, expressions. They are as important as words, perhaps more. Can you maintain control of them all?" I nodded, though a faint tremor ran through me. Every micro-expression, every shift of weight, every glance at the mirrors became a test. I was hyper-aware of the reflection, the sound of my own heels against the floor, the soft brushing of silk against my skin. It was exhilarating and terrifying at the same time. Then, a faint sound, a soft click from the boutique's entrance, made my heart skip a beat. Someone might walk in at any moment. My pulse surged. Isabella noticed immediately, her eyes narrowing. "Do you feel it?" she whispered, her lips near my ear. "The possibility of discovery? That's part of tonight. Can you hold yourself together? Can you maintain perfection under pressure?" I clenched my fists, trying to steady myself. The mirrors seemed to close in, reflecting every detail of my transformation, magnifying the stakes. I could feel sweat forming at my temples, my heart hammering, yet a part of me, an urgent, insistent part, thrived in this tension. The danger, the exposure, the performance, it all fused into a single, intoxicating rush. "Now," Isabella said, stepping back, "the final test before you truly submit. Pose. Posture, expression, movement. Show me that you can embody this persona completely, without hesitation, without faltering." I inhaled deeply, shifting my weight, adjusting the heels, letting the silk and lace mold me into the figure reflected back from the mirrors. The transformation was no longer just external, it was internal, a merging of desire, fear, and obedience. Alex was almost gone, replaced by this delicate, poised, yet trembling version of me. A faint smile spread across Isabella's face. "There it is," she murmured. "Exposed, elegant, entirely mine for the night." But even as she praised me, a tiny seed of anxiety planted itself in my mind. Could I maintain this control? Could I keep this balance of power, vulnerability, and performance as the night progressed? And more importantly, what if someone walked in at this exact moment to see me like this? The mirrors didn't just reflect my appearance. They reflected the stakes, the thrill, and the fragile line I now walked. And as Isabella's eyes locked on mine, I realized that the night had only just begun. The private studio smelled faintly of perfume and leather, a heady mix that made my senses sharper, my mind alive. Isabella had closed the heavy door behind us, leaving only the soft hum of the air conditioning and the occasional creak of the polished floor beneath our heels. The mirrors weren't just reflections, they were judges, witnesses, amplifying every tiny imperfection, every hesitation. "You know why you're here," Isabella said, her voice barely above a whisper, yet each word cut through me like a blade. "Tonight, it's not just about clothes. It's about control. Yours, mine, and the balance between them." I swallowed hard. Control. The concept felt foreign as I looked down at the lace skirt she'd chosen. It hugged me in ways that made me acutely aware of every movement, every sway of my hips. The heels she'd picked forced me into a slow, deliberate gait. Each step was a negotiation with gravity, balance, and the persona I was being shaped into. "Good," she continued, stepping behind me. Her fingers brushed lightly along my shoulders, adjusting my posture. "Now, I want you to walk the length of the room. Not fast. Not slow. Perfectly measured. Each step deliberate. Every glance, every movement calculated." My stomach tightened. I took a tentative step, then another. The mirrors multiplied me endlessly, each reflection watching, judging. I could feel my heart pounding, the muscles in my calves trembling as I struggled to maintain the perfect poise. "You're tense," she said softly, circling me. "Relax into it. Feel the persona you're becoming. Not Alex. Not the hesitant one. Someone softer. Someone delicate. Someone mine." Her words burned into me. I had never considered myself delicate before. But standing here, in heels, wrapped in silk and lace, I felt exposed in ways that were terrifying and intoxicating. Each motion carried weight. Every breath felt magnified. I could almost hear my own heartbeat echoing in the mirrors. "Now," she said, producing a compact mirror from the vanity. "Touch up your makeup. Adjust the wig. Every detail matters. Tonight, nothing is accidental. Not posture, not expression, not color." I obeyed, hands trembling slightly as I brushed mascara over my lashes and smoothed the wig. Each movement was magnified in the mirrors. My reflection now looked nothing like the man I had been that morning. The delicate lines, the polished appearance, the swaying posture, they all screamed femininity, submission, and a strange elegance that I didn't recognize in myself. A sudden knock, light, deliberate, made me freeze. Isabella's eyes sharpened, and I felt a jolt of fear spike through me. "Someone," I whispered, voice barely audible. "Part of the challenge," she said, stepping closer. "Can you maintain this persona under pressure? Someone could walk in at any second. Every step, every glance must stay perfect. Show me you can survive exposure." The knock echoed again, and I realized my entire body was taut, every muscle poised, every instinct alert. This was no longer just about crossdressing. It was about secrecy, tension, and the constant threat of being discovered. Isabella's hand rested lightly on my lower back, guiding me forward. "Now spin slowly," she instructed, "and smile. Confidently. Every movement counts." I obeyed, the skirt swishing delicately with each rotation. The heels forced my legs to cooperate, trembling slightly under the strain, yet each motion projected grace. The mirrors reflected me endlessly, dozens of images showing poise and vulnerability intertwined. "You're learning fast," she murmured, "but let's raise the stakes." From behind a curtain, she produced a delicate, high-necked lace bodysuit. "Wear this. Over your blouse. Over your skirt. Every detail adds complexity. Every layer is part of the persona. Can you maintain balance, control, and elegance?" My breath hitched as I slipped into the bodysuit. The lace clung to my skin, constricting just enough to make every movement deliberate. Each bend, twist, or sway reminded me how exposed I was. Yet, strangely, it made me more confident. Vulnerability and strength were merging, shaping a version of me that existed only here, in this golden, mirrored space. She moved in close, adjusting the hem, smoothing wrinkles, tilting my chin. "Perfection is not just appearance," she whispered. "It's energy, presence, obedience. Can you carry it without faltering?" I nodded, though my knees were shaking. The mirrors reflected not only my transformation, but my escalating tension. The fear of someone discovering me, combined with the thrill of the persona, made my senses sharper than ever. And now, Isabella said, producing a small handheld fan, move through the space as if you belong here. Each step measured, each glance intentional. Feel the eyes of the room, even if no one else is here. Project yourself fully. I began walking again, every step deliberate, heels clicking rhythmically against the polished floor. My heart pounded, sweat prickling my temples, yet a rush of exhilaration surged through me. Each reflection in the mirrors confirmed the transformation. Delicate, poised, beautiful, submissive, entirely under her control. And just as I thought I had mastered the steps, the sound of a second, heavier knock echoed through the studio. My stomach dropped. Someone else could be entering any second, catching me like this. My pulse skyrocketed. Isabella smiled faintly, her hand brushing lightly against my arm. "This is the moment," she whispered. "Can you maintain it? Or will you falter?" My body tensed, my mind raced, but I forced a smile, keeping my balance, my gaze steady. I was transformed, but the challenge was far from over. The night was just beginning, and every second would test me further. The studio air felt heavier now, charged with a mix of anticipation, fear, and excitement. Every reflection in the mirrors seemed to magnify the stakes. My heels clicked against the polished floor, echoing like a drumbeat that synchronized with my racing heart. Isabella stood behind me, her gaze sharp, her presence commanding. "Now," she said softly, her fingers brushing the small of my back, "walk through the room as if it's your stage. Every glance, every step, every tiny gesture counts. One slip, one misstep, and everything changes." I took a tentative step, then another, heels wobbly under the unfamiliar height. Each sway of my hips felt exaggerated, my skirt brushing my thighs in a delicate whisper of silk. My reflection multiplied endlessly, a dozen images of a poised, fragile, and fully transformed me staring back. It was exhilarating and terrifying all at once. A soft sound, a distant footstep from the boutique entrance, made me freeze. My pulse spiked. Someone could walk in at any moment. Isabella noticed immediately. "You feel that?" she whispered, her lips near my ear. "That's the thrill. The risk. Can you maintain composure under pressure? Can you perform flawlessly even when exposed?" I nodded, swallowing hard, my chest tight with tension. Every nerve in my body was alert. The lace bodysuit she'd placed over my blouse and skirt felt constricting, forcing every movement to be deliberate, measured. My reflection, delicate and feminine, stared back at me, teasing me with its perfection and my vulnerability. "Good," Isabella murmured, circling me. "Now touch up the makeup. Adjust the wig. Every detail is critical. Tonight, nothing can be accidental." My hands trembled slightly as I smoothed mascara, adjusted the wig, and checked the blush on my cheeks. Each movement was magnified in the mirrors, reflecting a persona almost unrecognizable from Alex. My lips, painted a bold, perfect color, felt foreign yet empowering. Every curve, every tilt of my chin, every sway of my hips reinforced the transformation. And then another knock, heavier this time. My stomach dropped. I froze completely, feeling exposed and fragile, every muscle taut. Isabella's eyes glimmered with amusement and command. "This is your test," she whispered. "Someone might enter at any moment. Can you maintain this persona? Can you remain perfect under threat?" I tried to steady myself, taking a slow step forward, balancing on the heels, letting the silk and lace mold me into elegance. Each step was a negotiation between fear and desire, control and surrender. I felt a surge of heat rise to my cheeks, my pulse racing uncontrollably. Isabella stepped closer, adjusting the hem of my skirt, smoothing the bodysuit. "Perfect," she murmured. "But now your voice. Speak." Every word reflects this persona. Hesitate, and the illusion shatters. I swallowed, my voice trembling slightly as I recited the lines she'd given me. The words sounded delicate, controlled, feminine, but every syllable carried the weight of exposure. The mirrors reflected multiple versions of me, all obedient, all beautiful, all trembling under pressure. "You're doing well," she said softly. "But there's one final challenge before tonight truly begins." She pulled a small, elegant mask from a nearby table, a delicate piece of lace that would cover the upper part of my face. "Wear this," she instructed. "It conceals, yet exposes. It forces you to rely on posture, voice, and presence alone. Can you maintain perfection when even your eyes are partially hidden?" My hands shook as I lifted the mask, positioning it over my face. The lace pressed gently against my skin, slightly obscuring my vision, making my movements more cautious, deliberate. Every step, every glance, every shift of weight now carried an amplified tension. The mirrors reflected a mysterious, elegant figure, half-revealed, fully transformed, exquisitely vulnerable. Isabella's gaze lingered, her eyes assessing, commanding. "This is the moment," she whispered. "You are exposed. You are transformed. You are mine. Maintain it. Every second counts." My heart pounded, my legs quivering slightly under the heels, my hands lightly trembling. But beneath the fear, beneath the tension, a rush of exhilaration surged through me. I had become someone entirely new, someone delicate, vulnerable, and completely under Isabella's control. And then, the final sound, a sharp, deliberate knock at the door. My pulse spiked so violently I could feel it in my throat. Isabella's eyes gleamed, her lips curving into a faint, knowing smile. "Here it comes," she murmured. "The real test of tonight. Can you maintain composure, or will you falter?" I froze, every muscle taut, every breath measured, every heartbeat loud in my ears. The mirrors reflected me endlessly, a fragile, poised, trembling figure fully transformed, yet under threat. The night had escalated beyond clothes, beyond posture. This was submission, control, exposure, and suspense fused into a single, intoxicating moment. And in that instant, I realized the transformation was no longer just about appearance. It was about endurance, about maintaining composure under scrutiny, about living in a persona that was both thrilling and terrifying. The door was about to open. Everything I had become would be tested. The studio felt smaller now, walls pressing closer, mirrors reflecting me endlessly from every angle. Every movement seemed amplified, every glance under Isabella's watchful eyes scrutinized. The lace mask pressed lightly against my face, concealing part of my vision yet heightening every other sense. My heels clicked against the floor, a rhythmic drumbeat in sync with my pounding heart. Isabella circled me slowly, her gaze sharp, evaluating. "You've come far," she whispered, "but this is where obedience truly matters. Can you hold this persona under scrutiny, under exposure? Can you remain elegant, flawless, and mine?" My body trembled, a mix of fear and exhilaration. The silk of the blouse, the tight embrace of the pencil skirt, the constriction of the bodysuit, all of it forced my movements to be careful, deliberate. Each sway, each tilt, each step was a negotiation with the fabric, the heels, and the persona I now inhabited. I felt entirely different, yet completely myself in a way I hadn't anticipated. "Good," she murmured, stepping behind me, adjusting the hem of the skirt, smoothing the bodysuit. "Now pose. Not just standing. Move. Flow. Demonstrate balance, grace, elegance, and submission." I complied, taking small steps across the studio, hips swaying, chest lifted, shoulders back. The mirrors multiplied me endlessly, each reflection poised, delicate, and trembling with barely contained excitement. My reflection was no longer Alex. It was a persona I had cultivated under her guidance, fragile, elegant, and obedient. A sudden knock at the door froze me mid-step. My pulse spiked, every muscle tightening. Isabella's eyes glimmered with anticipation. "Someone might enter," she whispered. "This is part of the test. Can you maintain composure, posture, elegance, even when exposed?" I swallowed hard, forcing a delicate smile. My heels pressed against my arches, legs quivering slightly, yet I moved, walked, posed. The lace mask obscured part of my vision, forcing me to rely on intuition and posture alone. The mirrors reflected not just my appearance but my vulnerability, my submission, my transformation. Isabella stepped forward, her hand brushing the small of my back, guiding, correcting, commanding. Excellent. But now, the final flourish. Confidence. Presence. Show me that you are fully transformed. She handed me a slender, ornate hand mirror. Look at yourself, she instructed. Really see. Not Alex. Not hesitation. Only this figure. Only the persona I've shaped. Own it. I raised the mirror, gazing at my reflection. The delicate curves, the polished hair, the makeup, the sway of the skirt, the heels elevating my posture. All of it screamed transformation. Vulnerability and power merged in an intoxicating mix. I was exposed, delicate, and yet astonishingly alive in this persona. A faint laugh escaped Isabella's lips. Yes, that's it. The balance between fear and excitement, between exposure and elegance, between submission and presence. You are exquisite. But just as I savored the praise, another sound, the unmistakable click of the boutique door, echoed through the studio. My chest tightened. Someone could walk in at any second. Every step I had taken, every movement, every micro-expression was under threat of discovery. Maintain it, Isabella whispered, her hand lightly guiding my chin upward. Even under pressure, even under fear, even under exposure. I moved again, a deliberate sway of hips, a careful tilt of the head, heels clicking in perfect rhythm. The mirrors reflected a dozen versions of me, all poised, all trembling, all exquisitely feminine. I realized with a rush of adrenaline that this persona, fragile, elegant, obedient, was now inseparable from me. The knock came again, heavier, deliberate. My heart pounded, and I felt sweat prickling at my temples. Isabella smiled faintly. This is the ultimate test. Can you stay perfect when the real world intrudes? When the threat is tangible? I nodded, forcing a controlled breath. Every muscle tense. The mirror showed my full transformation. Lace, silk, bodysuit, heels, makeup, wig, mask, all combining to create a figure unrecognizable as Alex, yet completely alive, elegant and obedient. Isabella stepped back, letting me face the mirrors fully. This is your moment, she whispered. You are transformed. You are exposed. You are poised. Can you maintain it? Or will the night break you? Every instinct screamed both thrill and terror. I was fully under her influence, fully transformed, yet the outside world, the knock, the possible intruder, threatened everything. The suspense, the obedience, the thrill, the exposure, all collided into a single heartbeat, stretching endlessly. And in that suspended moment, I understood. Tonight, I wasn't just cross-dressing. I was surrendering, performing, transforming, and risking everything. The door might open any second, and everything could change. The studio held its breath with me, mirrors reflecting perfection and fear, elegance and vulnerability. And Isabella's gaze anchored me, a constant reminder of control, dominance, and the thrill of exposure. The night was far from over. The real test beyond clothing, posture, and makeup was about to begin. The studio door creaked open slowly, a sound so faint yet so terrifying that my entire body froze. Every nerve screamed. Isabella's eyes glinted, a mixture of amusement and command. She stepped aside slightly, letting the intruder's shadow fall across the polished floor. I realized immediately the boutique was no longer just a safe space. The mirror-lined studio, the delicate lace, the tight bodysuit, the heels, all of it now stood exposed to a new threat. My heartbeat surged uncontrollably. The figure in the doorway hadn't yet stepped in fully, but the possibility of discovery made my pulse race. Stay still, Isabella whispered, her hand lightly pressing against the small of my back. Every movement counts. Not a single misstep. I nodded, though my knees trembled slightly, and the heels threatened to betray my balance. The lace mask obscured part of my vision, forcing me to rely on posture and intuition alone. I was completely exposed, entirely vulnerable and utterly transformed. The intruder finally stepped in, a colleague from work, someone I had never expected to see here. My stomach dropped. Panic surged. My hands pressed lightly against the silk blouse, trying to smooth wrinkles, though I knew it wouldn't help. My reflection in the mirrors multiplied the threat, showing a dozen versions of my trembling, poised self. Isabella didn't flinch. Instead, she moved closer to me, a shadow of control and dominance. "Relax, or at least appear relaxed," she whispered. "Confidence under exposure is everything." I swallowed, forcing a delicate smile. My heels clicked softly as I adjusted my stance. Every muscle tensed. The bodysuit constricted slightly, reminding me of my vulnerability, yet giving me a strange sense of elegance. I was trembling, but I was also alive, acutely aware of every detail, every nuance of my posture, every flicker of my expression. The colleague's gaze swept across the studio, pausing at the mirrors, the heels, the lace, and finally landing on me. I froze, heart in my throat. What if they recognized me? What if my secret was exposed in this very moment? Isabella's voice cut softly through the tension. "Smile. Speak. Presence. Show them you are transformed." I nodded, trying to control my voice. "Good evening," I murmured, tone delicate, soft, higher than usual. My words seemed foreign, yet they carried the elegance Isabella demanded. The colleague's eyes widened slightly, curiosity flickering across their face. "Who are you?" the voice asked, a mixture of surprise and hesitation. I felt my pulse spike again, yet Isabella's hand rested lightly on my back, guiding me forward. "Focus on the persona," she whispered. "Not Alex. The one you are now. Elegance, obedience, composure." I lifted my chin, letting the mask frame my eyes, projecting calm, poise, and vulnerability simultaneously. Every reflection in the mirrors reinforced my transformation, delicate, obedient, fragile yet radiant. I was fully inhabiting this new identity, yet the threat of exposure made every second unbearable. The colleagues stepped closer, their eyes scanning, evaluating, curiosity now mixed with fascination. I took another step forward, careful, measured, heels clicking softly. The bodysuit, skirt, blouse, and lace mask all worked together to mold my movements into grace. I felt entirely transformed, yet exposed to judgment, scrutiny, and discovery. A soft laugh escaped Isabella's lips, low and approving. "See? You are exquisite. Perfect under threat. Vulnerable, delicate, yet commanding attention." My chest tightened. Every fiber of my being was alert, every muscle taut. The mirrors multiplied the tension, showing not just my reflection but my fear, my obedience, my thrill, my transformation. I realized with a sudden, sharp rush that I was living in a moment of complete surrender, physically, emotionally, and psychologically. The colleague finally stepped closer, just a foot away. I didn't expect," they began, voice trailing off, unsure. Isabella's hand lifted slightly, guiding my head toward them. "Presence," she whispered. "Even now, even with fear. Show them who you are tonight." I swallowed, voice trembling slightly, but controlled. I'm just here for..." I paused, feeling the lace mask press against my skin, the heels forcing my balance, the mirrors reflecting my vulnerability and elegance. Every word, every gesture was part of the performance, part of the transformation, part of the test. The colleague's eyes lingered, searching for understanding, yet unable to find the usual Alex they knew. I felt a mix of fear, shame, and exhilaration, my heart racing, my legs quivering under the weight of heels and expectation. Isabella's lips curved into a faint smile. "Excellent," she murmured. Now, hold this moment. Every second counts. The night is far from over, and the true challenge has only begun. And in that suspended moment, I realized the transformation wasn't just physical anymore. It was a test of endurance, poise, obedience, and the ability to remain exposed under scrutiny. The mirrors reflected perfection, fear, vulnerability, and thrill all at once. My secret life, my desires, my obedience, everything hung in the balance, teetering on the edge of exposure. The colleague's gaze lingered on me, confusion and curiosity battling with the familiarity of the person they thought they knew. My heart hammered, each beat echoing in my ears, and the heels beneath my feet suddenly felt impossibly high. My reflection in the mirrors multiplied the tension, dozens of fragile, poised, trembling figures staring back, all fully transformed yet exposed. Isabella's hand rested lightly on my shoulder, anchoring me. "Hold your composure," she whispered. "Every movement, every glance, every word is your armor. Remember, you are transformed, delicate, elegant. You are mine." I swallowed, forcing a soft, elegant smile, trying to project confidence even as panic bubbled beneath the surface. My fingers trembled slightly against the lace mask. The bodysuit constricted, the skirt swayed with every step, and my heels clicked rhythmically against the polished floor. I felt entirely exposed. The colleagues stepped closer, lowering their voice.
I don't understand."
"You look different. Why?" Before I could respond, Isabella's fingers lifted slightly, signaling me to remain silent. My breath caught. The threat of discovery was immediate, real. Every second stretched, suspended between fear and exhilaration. The mirrors reflected not just my physical transformation but my vulnerability, my obedience, my terror, and thrill simultaneously. Isabella moved behind me, her presence a shield and a command. "Watch and learn," she whispered, pressing a finger lightly to my back. "Even under scrutiny, even under threat, maintain poise. Maintain perfection." I shifted slightly, hips swaying delicately, posture upright, heels steady. My voice trembled as I spoke, careful, measured. I'm just practicing," I murmured softly, higher than usual, the words deliberate. The colleague frowned, unsure whether to press further. My pulse raced, but every word reinforced the transformation, every motion an act of obedience and control. Suddenly, the colleague stepped closer still, almost brushing against me. My body tensed, every nerve on edge. The mirrors reflected a dozen Alexes, now fully delicate, feminine, exposed, and completely under Isabella's control. Isabella's eyes glimmered with approval. "Good, but now comes the real test," she whispered. "Someone unexpected. The challenge of exposure. Can you maintain composure?" A faint click from the studio entrance made my blood run cold. Another visitor? Or the colleague moving deliberately closer? My legs quivered slightly under the heels, my hands pressed lightly against the skirt, fingers brushing the lace bodysuit. Every instinct screamed panic, yet a thrilling exhilaration surged through me. The colleague finally spoke, voice uncertain. I think I should leave, maybe." Before I could respond, the door swung open, revealing a figure I hadn't expected. Someone from Isabella's world, unfamiliar, authoritative. My chest tightened instantly. Every step, every movement, every flutter of lashes, every sway of my hips became a test under scrutiny I couldn't predict. Isabella's smile was calm, controlled, almost predatory. "Welcome," she said softly, gesturing toward me. "Observe if you like, but do not touch. This is part of the lesson." I froze, entirely aware of the multiple sets of eyes now on me. My body shook slightly under the weight of heels, bodysuit, skirt, and lace mask. The mirrors multiplied the exposure. A dozen Alexes, delicate, trembling, obedient, fully transformed. The thrill, the fear, the humiliation, and the exhilaration collided in my chest. "Stay perfect," Isabella whispered, her voice warm yet commanding. "Every glance, every breath, Every motion your armor. Even now. I moved, careful, deliberate, letting the heels click in rhythm, the skirt sway with elegance, the lace mask frame my eyes. My reflection in the mirrors became a mesmerizing dance of vulnerability and power, obedience and performance. I was exposed, fragile, and commanding attention all at once. And then, the unexpected twist. The colleague leaned in, whispering something I couldn't quite catch. My heart skipped. Did they recognize me? Could my secret be unraveling? The suspense hit a new peak. Every muscle tensed. Every nerve screamed. The night had escalated beyond anything I'd imagined. Isabella's hand pressed lightly on my back, grounding me, anchoring me. "Breathe," she whispered. "You are transformed. You are elegant. You are obedient. And you are mine. Now let's see if you can survive exposure." The mirrors reflected the tension, the vulnerability, the thrill, the elegance, and the complete transformation. My secret, my persona, my submission, all hung in the balance. One false move, one misstep, and the entire facade could collapse. And in that suspended heartbeat, I realized the night had become a test of endurance, of elegance under pressure, of obedience and thrill intertwined. The door might swing open further at any second. The mirrors might betray me. And yet, in this fragile, trembling, poised form, I had never felt more alive. The room felt impossibly small, the air thick with tension. Every reflection in the mirrors multiplied my vulnerability, dozens of delicate, trembling versions of me staring back, all fully transformed, all fully exposed. The lace mask pressed against my skin, the heels biting into my arches, the bodysuit constricting each movement, and yet I stood poised, trembling but elegant, under Isabella's watchful eyes. The new visitor, a friend of Isabella's from the boutique, someone I hadn't expected, stepped closer, curiosity flickering in their eyes. My stomach churned. Could they recognize me? Could my secret life be exposed in this very moment? Every nerve screamed panic, every muscle tensed. Isabella's hand pressed lightly against the small of my back, grounding me. "Stay present," she whispered. "Every glance, every step, every breath your armor. Elegance under threat. Obedience under scrutiny. Can you hold it?" I nodded, though my body shook slightly. The mirrors reflected me endlessly, each movement magnified. Every step was a negotiation with fabric, heels, posture, and persona. The silk blouse clung to my shoulders, the lace bodysuit hugged every curve, the pencil skirt swayed with a deliberate elegance. I was transformed, delicate, obedient, yet utterly exposed. The colleague leaned in closer, eyes narrowing slightly, curiosity blending with suspicion. "I've never seen you like this before," they said softly, voice low. My heart pounded, and my pulse surged in my ears. Each word felt like a probe, testing the fragile line between exposure and concealment. Isabella's lips curved into a faint, approving smile. "Exactly. This is the test. Vulnerability, elegance, obedience under pressure. Show them who you are now." I drew a deep breath, letting the heels anchor me, the lace mask frame my eyes, and the bodysuit mold my posture. My voice, soft but deliberate, trembled slightly as I spoke. I'm here to learn, to practice, to become elegant." The words felt foreign, yet they carried the weight of my transformation. The mirrors reflected the tension, the vulnerability, the elegance, and the submission simultaneously. My reflection was no longer Alex. It was a figure completely molded under Isabella's guidance, delicate, exposed, yet commanding attention in ways I hadn't imagined possible. Suddenly, the unexpected twist. The colleague reached out, almost touching the lace mask. My stomach dropped, my knees quivering slightly. The risk of exposure had spiked to a new level. Every instinct screamed panic, yet a thrill surged through me. This was the ultimate test of obedience and composure. Isabella's hand pressed lightly to my back. "Do not falter," she whispered. Every step, every glance maintained perfection. Vulnerability is power when wielded correctly. I shifted slightly, letting the heels click softly, the skirt sway gracefully, and the mask frame my eyes. My hands rested lightly at my sides, trembling just enough to reveal delicate fragility. Every motion was deliberate, every breath controlled, every heartbeat synchronized with the mirrors that multiplied my transformation. The colleague paused, eyes scanning, evaluating, curiosity turning to fascination. The lace, the heels, the bodysuit, the makeup, everything combined to create a persona utterly unfamiliar yet impossible to ignore. I was Alex, yes, but I was also something entirely new. Delicate, elegant, obedient, fully under Isabella's control. Then, the final escalation. Isabella stepped forward, her voice calm yet commanding. "Observe closely," she said. "Notice the transformation, the obedience, the presence. You are seeing more than just appearance. You are witnessing control, vulnerability, and exhilaration intertwined." My chest tightened. Every sense was heightened. The mirrors reflected not only my body but my emotional state: fear, thrill, obedience, exhilaration. I realized with a sharp rush that the night had become more than crossdressing. It was performance, endurance, exposure, and ultimate surrender. The colleague finally withdrew slightly, curiosity still in their eyes, uncertainty mixing with awe. My heart pounded, but I held my stance, every muscle tense yet deliberate, every step poised, every breath measured. I was transformed fully, every reflection echoing the delicate balance between fear and control, submission and elegance. And in that suspended heartbeat, the ultimate cliffhanger struck. The boutique door clicked again, heavier this time. My pulse surged uncontrollably.
Who was coming now?
Was this the moment of revelation, or another test? Every mirror, every fabric, every trembling step now mattered more than ever. Isabella's voice broke the suspended tension. "This is the edge," she whispered, hand lightly on my shoulder. "Everything you've become can be observed, challenged, or broken. Are you ready to maintain it, or will you falter?" The studio held its breath with me. The mirrors reflected elegance, fragility, obedience, exposure, and transformation in a single, endless loop. My secret, my persona, my submission, all hung by a thread. 1 second, one misstep, one glance could shatter it. And then the room went silent. The new visitor, the colleague Isabella, the mirrors all watched. Every reflection, every heartbeat, every tremble was a moment suspended in time. The night was far from over. The transformation, the suspense, the exposure, everything had reached its peak. And as the final click of the door echoed, I realized my secret life, my obedience, my fragile elegance were about to face the ultimate test. The heavy click of the door reverberated through the studio, sending a jolt straight to my chest. Every mirror multiplied the tension, reflecting dozens of trembling, poised, and fully transformed versions of me. The lace mask pressed lightly against my skin, heels digging into my arches, the bodysuit clinging to every curve, every element of my crossdressing persona now under scrutiny. My pulse thundered in my ears. Isabella's eyes gleamed, calm, commanding, predatory. "This is it," she whispered, her hand resting lightly on the small of my back. "The moment where everything is tested, obedience, elegance, composure. You either hold it or everything changes." I froze, heart racing, every muscle taut. The new visitor, someone I hadn't anticipated, paused in the doorway, eyes sweeping across the studio, across me. My reflection stared back from a dozen angles, fragile, delicate, obedient, and completely exposed. The thrill and terror mingled, almost suffocating, yet exhilarating. "Stay poised," Isabella murmured.
Breathe.
Every step, every gesture, your armor, your persona, your obedience. Show them who you are now. I took a careful step forward, letting my heels click softly against the polished floor. The skirt swayed elegantly, the bodysuit molded every movement, The lace mask framed my eyes. I was transformed entirely, yet vulnerable, every motion a test under scrutiny. The mirrors reflected me endlessly, a fragile, trembling, obedient figure performing under pressure. The visitor's gaze lingered, curiosity and fascination mingling with confusion. Every instinct screamed panic. Could they recognize me? Could my secret life unravel in this very moment? Every second stretched, suspended between fear and exhilaration. Isabella's fingers pressed lightly to my shoulder. Do not falter. This is the pinnacle. Vulnerability is power. Elegance is control. Obedience is survival. I nodded, forcing a delicate smile, voice trembling but controlled. I'm just learning, practicing becoming elegant. Each word, though soft, carried the weight of my transformation. The mirrors reflected my trembling hands, the sway of my skirt, the tilt of my head, every element magnified, every detail under threat. A sudden, sharp sound, the visitor stepping closer, made my stomach flip. My heels wobbled slightly. The lace mask, the bodysuit, the skirt, everything felt heavier now, a tangible reminder of both elegance and vulnerability. My pulse surged, every nerve alert, every movement deliberate. Isabella's hand guided my chin upward. Hold it. Every glance, every breath, every motion. Your perfection under scrutiny. This is your moment. I shifted slightly, letting my body flow with grace, letting the heels click rhythmically, skirt swaying, mask framing my eyes. Every reflection in the mirrors multiplied the suspense. I realized I had become a living paradox, fragile yet commanding attention, obedient yet fully alive, exposed yet mesmerizing. The visitor leaned closer, curiosity sharpening, eyes narrowing. My chest tightened. Every instinct screamed caution. Would they recognize Alex? Could my secret unravel? The suspense stretched unbearably. Isabella's lips curved into a faint, knowing smile. This is the edge, she whispered. Everything you've become, delicate, obedient, transformed, now faces exposure. Can you survive it? I took another careful step, heels clicking, hips swaying elegantly, hands trembling lightly. The mirrors reflected my anxiety, my submission, my thrill, my transformation, all amplified by the looming possibility of discovery. Suddenly, the visitor's hand reached toward the lace mask, brushing just slightly against the edge. My chest tightened, knees quivering. The entire studio seemed to hold its breath. Every reflection froze in tension, every detail of my transformation magnified. The bodysuit constricted, the skirt swayed, the heels anchored my trembling form. I was poised, elegant, vulnerable, completely under Isabella's control. Isabella's voice broke the silence. Now, show them who you truly are. Maintain composure, elegance, obedience, even under exposure. Your transformation, your submission, it is your power. I swallowed hard, body tense, voice soft yet deliberate. I am learning becoming elegant. The words barely escaped my lips, but they carried the full weight of my persona, delicate, trembling, obedient, and utterly transformed. And then, the final, perfect cliffhanger. The visitor stepped fully into the studio, eyes widening, a gasp barely restrained. My heart stopped. Every muscle froze. The mirrors reflected me endlessly, delicate and trembling, completely exposed. Isabella's smile deepened, almost predatory. You see, she whispered, her hand still lightly on my back. This is the moment of truth. Everything you've become can be challenged, observed, or broken. I stood poised, heels digging in, skirt swaying, lace mask framing my eyes, bodysuit constricting my movements, completely transformed and utterly vulnerable. Every heartbeat, every tremble, every glance hung suspended in perfect tension. The door closed slowly behind the visitor, leaving the three of us in a charged silence. The mirrors reflected endless possibilities, endless tension. The night had reached its ultimate peak: exposure, submission, elegance, Fear, thrill, all intertwined. And as the final seconds stretched endlessly, I realized my secret, my obedience, my fragile transformation. Everything was about to face the ultimate revelation. The story paused there, unresolved. The audience left suspended with a single thought. Would Alex survive the exposure, maintain the obedience, or be completely discovered?